While Rome burned, Nero played his fiddle. While Trump burns America, he posts bizarre AI images of himself calling for criminal investigations against Beyoncé, Oprah, and Bruce Springsteen. This follows Donald Trump making posts that Taylor Swift is, he says, not hot. Donald Trump has posted memes of himself calling for criminal tribunals to be held against former President Obama. He's posting weird AI images of himself performing in front of fake crowds to music by Journey. This says Donald Trump also held a press conference where he bragged about Vladimir Putin talking about Melania during their discussions, which was supposed to be about peace in Ukraine, which Donald Trump promised he was going to secure within 24 hours of taking office or 24 hours before taking office. This says Donald Trump refuses to acknowledge the deaths of at least 28 Americans in horrific storms that have been a scourge across our country, with Category 3 tornadoes in areas like St. Louis and other horrific weather events. No word from Donald Trump about these deaths as Kentucky, Illinois, Missouri, Indiana, and other states are suffering. Also, Donald Trump has not called in FEMA to help these states. We learned from the St. Louis mayor. Could you imagine if former President Biden did not call in FEMA when we deal with an event like this? Do you know what the coverage would actually be? We'll focus on it here on the MeidasTouch podcast. Also, all of this is going on while Moody's, the credit agency that's been around since 1917, has downgraded the United States credit score for the first time in the history of Moody's, which has been around since 1917. This says the MAGA Republicans are pushing forward a budget that will gut Medicaid, take away supplemental nutrition assistance programs, will take away housing programs to provide affordable housing and affordable rental options. This as they provide trillions of tax cuts to their billionaire Mar-a-Lago buddies while increasing our deficit by at least $6 trillion. We didn't start this fire. Donald Trump did, but we here at the MeidasTouch Podcast are going to do everything we can do each and every day to try to put that fire out. Brett and Jordy, welcome to the MeidasTouch Podcast, and Meidas Mighty, welcome as well. We are back from a whirlwind trip to New York, where it started with the Webbies, a Katie Couric interview. We were there at YouTube, where they announced we were on the top of their new YouTube podcast charts. And Mother's Day, our mom's birthday, and now back in Los Angeles. I was on the tarmac, the runway, for about 4 hours trying to leave New York from JFK. It was like a 15-hour flight, but here we are. We're back in action.
Yeah, I hear there was a lot of outages that day also, and still outage. I mean, it's like every day we're hearing of new outages at the FAA, everything in total chaos. But Ben, you listed all the top news of the day, but I want to make sure we're focusing on one of the biggest stories of the day. That said, it's your birthday, Ben. Happy birthday to Ben, and not just any birthday. It is Ben's 40th birthday. Thank you for spending it with us here on the MeidasTouch Podcast. I'm really excited about this episode. We've got a lot to talk about, so I know we're going to get right into it. But I want to thank everybody also, because last week, as Ben mentioned, was an exciting week. It was also a very grueling week for all of us, doing all the things that Ben said and more, and then keeping this thing afloat. And we couldn't have done it without all of you and all the support out there. So thank you so much. And that YouTube charts thing, man, it's really cool. YouTube is now having a podcast charts where they show you the top podcasts on the platform. It's an honor to be the top news podcast on the YouTube charts. And thanks everybody. And remember to subscribe to the MeidasTouch Podcast. Listen also not only on YouTube and watch on YouTube, but listen on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. Leave a 5-star review. Jordy, what's the latest?
I'm just going to say this before we dive in. Benji, happy birthday, big bro. I love you, man. Where do you want to start off today?
We should start also with our thoughts and prayers, and positivity goes out to former President Biden and his entire family. By now, you know that he announced that he has a very serious prostate cancer diagnosis. MAGA Republicans right now are trying to further spread conspiracies about him. Corporate news continues to defame him. I don't even want to get into that and give that any attention. I just want to send a heartfelt thanks to everything that former President Biden has done for our country, and beyond his policies representing decency, compassion, and a true love for our country. So I know the Midas Mighty sending all the positivity we can to former President Biden and his family. Let's get into what's been going down. So Donald Trump got back from this disastrous trip to the Middle East. As I posted on various social media accounts, because America is so propagandized and our media basically looks no different than the way like Kim Jong-un state regime media works or Russian state regime media works. The headlines are basically what Donald Trump feeds to the media, and they just basically posted, oh, Donald Trump did a $1.2 trillion deal with Qatar. No, he didn't. He didn't do a deal with that. Their entire GDP is $200 billion, okay? They're not giving 6x their GDP to the United States. Like, do some critical evaluation before you just give those types of headlines. And most of the quote-unquote deals that Donald Trump announced were things that former President Biden did anyway. Trump did no deals at all. And by the way, when you look at these so-called deals that Donald Trump does, like what he did with the United Kingdom 2 or 3 weeks ago as well, it literally said on the bottom of the memorandum of understanding, this is not a binding deal. And all it did was give preferential treatment to Jaguar, Land Rover, and Rolls-Royce over United States car manufacturers. Donald Trump did not do a deal with China, right? It was a consensus where Donald Trump just totally caved and capitulated. Donald Trump rushed his Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, his trade representative, Jamieson Greer, to go to Switzerland because the products from China were not reaching our ports, and we were about to have a situation where there was going to be nothing on our shelves, even worse than COVID. Donald Trump caved and just took down the tariffs from 145% to 30%. Donald Trump's done 0 deals in 90 days, and all of these other countries are realizing what a horrible negotiator he is, how weak and pathetic that he doesn't hold the cards. Remember Donald Trump saying, I got the cards, you don't got the cards. Everybody realizes that Donald Trump doesn't have the cards and that you can play him so easily.
And not only that, Ben, it seems like we're also hearing anytime Donald Trump leaves, right? He makes this big announcements, right? We got a deal here, this country, we did this in this region, in that region. And then he gets all the headlines. The press runs with everything he says verbatim, no matter how ridiculous the numbers are. And then inevitably, one of the countries comes out and they go, that wasn't what we talked about at all. And in fact, Donald Trump completely offended us. Like we're watching even what happened in India, where the Trump administration was trying to take a credit for this ceasefire between India and Pakistan. And India is like furious at Trump right now. Like they are absolutely pissed, and they think that Trump's trying to take credit and that Trump had nothing to do with this. And it's just like it's an embarrassment. It's an international embarrassment to see him go to these countries, then lie, have our press write these headlines without any discernment whatsoever, and then have to have these other heads of state and whatever correct him and correct the record all the time. But Trump has understood that our media is so propagandized that all he has to do is just say whatever he wants, and it's just basically going to be repeated. And they're going to focus on things that aren't really important. They're not going to focus on the fact that Trump isn't sending FEMA into these states, that he hasn't even activated them. He's not going to focus on, they're not going to focus on the death toll as a result of Trump and what's going on with the National Weather Service. That should be a major scandal. We're going to get into all that here as well. But the things they're focusing on to run these like 24-hour a day stories on like Biden and to be focused on all these other things, to me, it's just a disgrace, and you're missing the mark of what like the serious things that are going on in the country right now. Then, my message throughout all these deals is that his announcements constantly follow the same pattern. He declares a major breakthrough, only for the details later to reveal that nothing has really changed. And in the meantime, the press is just doing his bidding for him. And it's just a complete embarrassment to our entire system, to be honest.
You sort of get the sense, too, that the press is intentionally missing the mark. Like they're going up at that plate and they're intentionally striking out with the T-ball right in front of them. And that's because they're scared of their access. They don't want to lose that access that means so much to them. It's no longer about accountability and holding Donald Trump accountable in their eyes. And that's the saddest thing about this. I want the fourth estate to be at its prime and really hitting back hard, but doing so in a way that makes sense and actually just doing their jobs. But to see them get up there every single day and just let the ball just pass them by intentionally, it's infuriating.
And it could sound like a conspiracy theory, right? Oh, the media is coordinating with Trump and they're trying to do his bidding, right? But then you hear these stories that show that it is very much true. Like today, we were hearing the story about Wendy McMahon, the president of CBS News, and she is resigning because she was on the side of Bill Owens, the 60 Minutes executive producer who recently resigned, because for the first time ever, the higher-ups at CBS and the ownership of CBS was saying that they had to adjust their programming about Donald Trump to appease Donald Trump. Like that was coming from the top. And these executive producers, these well-respected people at these networks who have been doing these jobs for a very long time, they are now backing out. They are now saying, I refuse to be complicit in what is happening right here. I understand, that they want to do this merger, that they want to do this buyout deal, and that they know that Trump is the one who's able to either accept or deny that deal. But I'm not going to be complicit in selling out our country in order to give beneficial treatment to Donald Trump. I mean, it's just a complete abdication of the role of the fourth estate. And that's why I want this media to succeed. I really do want them to do well. I want them to be able to do their job. But it so pisses me off when we learn about what's going on. And shout out to Wendy McMahon for her courage in calling this out, in coming out in public and speaking out about what her network is doing behind the scenes to these shows, which are supposed to be able to call balls and strikes. But right now they are trying to appease Donald Trump.
Let's take a look at this clip from the St. Louis mayor, Kara Spencer. And this should be the biggest story of the day, of the week. This should be a front page story. Donald Trump has not sent FEMA into St. Louis or any of these areas that have just been devastated by tornadoes and horrific weather events that have killed 28 Americans. As of this recording, that has not happened. The first thing you do is you activate FEMA, and FEMA gets on the ground, and FEMA works with local and state officials to coordinate things, especially as we now approach hurricane season. What's going to happen then when a hurricane strikes and FEMA isn't doing its job? We've been reporting about this FEMA issue and issues regarding the National Weather Service and the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Agency that Donald Trump has gutted for months and months. We've made it a major story here at the MeidasTouch Network, not just a passing story that gets half a day treatment and then goes away. What could be more fundamental to what a government is supposed to do than in a time of distress, provide the service? What are we paying our taxes for? It's certainly not to have a already billionaire born with a golden spoon in his mouth like Donald Trump go to Qatar so he can brag for gold-plated jets. That ain't freaking normal. Let's play this clip of Mayor Spencer from St. Louis. Let's play.
Not just true for St. Louis. Cities across the nation, when experiencing disasters such as this is what the federal government is for. We need your help. We need the help of the broader community. We have set up a fund to help bring in some funding right off the bat, just to bridge that gap. But we need federal assistance.
Is FEMA there? Is FEMA on the ground yet?
FEMA has not been on the ground. We do not have confirmed assistance from FEMA at this point.
Did you hear what she said? We had to set up a fund, like a GoFundMe, because the federal government is not helping out. Okay, that's where we begin the top of our story on the MeidasTouch Podcast. What the hell is going on? And it's not just unique to that. I want you to think about all the other people who have been fired. The people who worked at the NIH, National Institutes of Health, the people who worked at the CDC, the people who work at research facilities. I want you to think about the veterans who were fired, the people who work in Veterans Affairs who were fired. I want you to think about the people who work in the national parks, the people across all government agencies who provide critical functions that Donald Trump and Elon Musk defamed, gave them the middle finger, and said, we're firing you for performance-related reasons. Go F yourself. Destroyed their lives and dismantled our government. We did another report on this as well, and I talked about it this weekend, that Trump fired the head of FEMA, who was a MAGA guy, the interim head of FEMA, because the guy refused to say during a congressional hearing 2 weeks ago that he wanted to dismantle FEMA. Kristi Noem, dog killer Homeland Security Secretary, said that she wanted and she was actively seeking to dismantle FEMA. And the FEMA guy said he personally believed that would be a bad decision. This was a MAGA guy who ran for Congress as he said, I'm the MAGA candidate. He got fired for saying he didn't want to dismantle his own agency. So I'm trying to raise right now the alarms of what's going to happen, and we're seeing what's happening right there. It's absurd.
I'd like to just point out a pattern as well, Ben, and that's in all these situations, like we've seen now multiple deadly storms, fatal storms occur under the Trump administration. We're seeing the storms that we're speaking about right now. And just a few months ago, if you remember, there were storms that had at least like 40 deaths in Arkansas, Missouri, Mississippi, Oklahoma.
No FEMA aid to those states too.
No FEMA aid to those states too. And Donald Trump, again, did not even like speak out about those issues, did not even say any even words of comfort, not even like for all of his posts. He's posting about, wanting to arrest Bono and freaking Bruce Springsteen and Beyonce and people for speaking out against them. He's saying Taylor Swift isn't hot. He's posting QAnon memes about military tribunals for Obama, all this crazy stuff that we'll get to in a little bit. And he can't even do one post saying, listen, I hear you. I'm with you. I'm going to use the weight of the United States government to ensure your safety, to ensure you are okay. Even with our troops dying, right? We saw the death of our troops both near our border, right here, who were sent on this mission to secure the border by Donald Trump. We also saw our troops die in Lithuania. Donald Trump did not release a statement. And when Donald Trump was asked about it, he acted like he didn't even know what the person was talking about in the Oval Office. Oh, what do you mean? What? People died? What are you talking about? And that's his move, if you've noticed. His move is to just totally act oblivious to everything. Just anything that could look bad. He goes, I never even heard of that. What? I don't know. And then you have people like even Sarah Huckabee Sanders in the last storms, right? She was begging Trump to do something. Do something, help us out. What the hell are you doing, man? And he refused, and he refused then, and he refuses now. And the amount of shit that he and all those MAG influencers, I think back to, when there were the storms in Georgia, when there were the storms in North Carolina. And what did President Biden do at the time? He picked up the phone instantly. He declared emergency declarations. He immediately got on the phone with people like Brian Kemp. He went into action, and that's not even something that deserves, oh, wow, he went into action. That's what you're supposed to do as the president of the United States. And Donald Trump is not even doing the bare minimum here. Like, pick up the damn phone, contact the officials, see what they need, do what people need from their government. It's just basic governance right here that is completely getting swept under. And nobody is speaking about this as a scandal, when to me, this is like the biggest scandal imaginable. This is like, imagine if during Katrina, Bush just totally even ignored it. Like, we talk about his bad response. Trump has no response to these storms. It's honestly outrageous.
Let me share with you this. Donald Trump then talks about how he talks about his Middle East trip during this press conference, and he claims he secured $5 trillion. Here, play this clip.
Because there's no place like the White House, I found out. You have a lot of places, and I just left some of the richest places, and we loved them, and they gave us a nice contribution of about $5 trillion, but this is a special place. Even they talk about it, so it's great to have everybody here.
And by the way, those are not some of the richest places either. Okay, Qatar's entire GDP is $200 billion. You know what the annual GDP of Canada is, who Donald Trump attacks? It's like $3 trillion. Okay, do you know the GDP of California, which is the fourth largest in the world? It's not that Qatar is rich. And this is where Donald Trump's mind is so attached to this idea of like royal authoritarians versus democracies. California has the fourth largest GDP in the entire world. Okay, it's not even close. But Trump looks up to these, leaders in the Middle East, and they didn't commit $5 trillion. They didn't commit 30x their annual GDP to the United States. And it's just absurd that nobody there was like, hey, you realize that just makes absolutely no sense. So then Donald Trump spoke to Putin today. Now, I just want to give this context. Trump was claiming that he was going to go to Istanbul to meet with Putin and Zelensky. Remember, about 2 weeks ago, Putin said that he wanted to go to Istanbul and meet with Putin and have peace discussions, which we told you was all BS and it was going to be propaganda to try to play Donald Trump so Trump would attack Zelensky. But the real goal was just Putin wanted to have a direct conversation with Donald Trump so that he can get everything he wanted out of Donald Trump and then try to force Ukraine to surrender, because Zelensky's been making very smart diplomatic moves. Zelensky showed up to Istanbul. Putin backed out. Donald Trump backed out. So then Donald Trump spoke to Putin today, and the purpose of the call was try to secure a ceasefire. Instead, Donald Trump just made a post. He's like, we talked about ceasefire. I feel very good about these conversations. Now it's up for Zelensky and Putin just to talk it out. It's up to them to talk. That's your solution? Your solution is that you're done. I just want me to be clear. You're done. Zelensky and Putin need to talk. You don't think that's been thought about before? And the problem is that Putin wants Zelensky to completely surrender, and Zelensky wants Ukraine just to exist, right? If Ukraine stopped fighting, it would no longer exist. If Russia stopped fighting, we would have peace. Zelensky's agreed to an unconditional ceasefire. That's the dynamic. But what did our corporate news run with? Donald Trump says ceasefire is going to work. No. Donald Trump claimed he was going to bring peace to Ukraine in 24 hours with taking office, or even before that. And what's Donald Trump speaking about? Putin was clearly mocking Melania during the phone call. And we know that also because Russian state regime media has been showing Melania nudes over and over again since the election. Watch Donald Trump talk about, oh, I think Putin likes my wife. I think he likes Melania. That's what you got out of the call? Here, play this clip.
And compassionate First Lady, I would tell you she is very dedicated. In fact, if you look at just what I heard, Putin just said they respect your wife a lot. I said, what about me? No, they like Melania better. That wasn't good. I don't know if that was good. I'm okay with it. I'm okay.
I'm okay with it. I'm okay. Let me be clear. When Putin said they respect your wife over there, he was mocking you. That's what he was doing. I'm okay with. I mean, how weak and pathetic does he look? Then you have Caroline Leavitt give a press conference earlier in the day where she was asked if she has any updates about Stephen Miller, Trump's top advisor's plan to suspend habeas corpus. In other words, to dismantle the Constitution and take away people's right to have cases heard before federal courts by essentially invoking martial law. And her response is, we're still looking into that. We're still looking into that. Here, play this clip of.
One other question. Recently, Stephen Miller at the White House made some comments about considering suspending habeas corpus. And I'm curious if there's any update on how the White House is exploring that option to enact the president's agenda.
I don't have any update at this time, but I can check in with our Deputy Chief of Staff, Mary.
What in the Kim Jong-un are we watching right there? The question, what's going on with the potential elimination of our Constitution? Well, I don't really have any updates on that, but we're gonna look into it. We're gonna do we understand the import of what they're saying? By the way, this is what's going on state regime media as they constantly show these Melania photos over and over again.
On Russian state TV media. I unfortunately, we have to clarify which state.
What did I say?
Media.
I said state regime
you just said
media? State
regime media. And so I just have to clarify, we're not talking about our state regime media, the Russian state regime media. And for the audio listeners, and I mean, they run, and they do this like all the time. They show like nude pictures of Melania and they like mock her. It's insane. And like, this is all top down from Putin. Like this isn't just a random producer deciding to run this.
We've got a lot to discuss in this episode. I want to talk more about what went down in that Caroline Leavitt press conference. I want to talk about the status of the budget bill. I want to talk about other pressing concerns. Let's take our first quick break of the show. I want to remind everybody, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're getting closer to that 5 million subscriber mark. Make sure you subscribe on audio, wherever audio podcasts are available. Leave that 5-star review. We've got a lot of angry Joe Rogan fans who try to give negative 1-star reviews. So if you think this show deserves a 5-star review, it'll take you 20 seconds to do, and it really helps the show a lot when you give a 5-star review. Also, next week we'll do a Patreon Zoom chat. Patreon.com/MeidasTouch. If you wanted to meet me, Brett, and Jordy, sign up right now at Patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Go to store.MeidasTouch.com to check out the MeidasTouch gear, pro-democracy gear. We know that you will love it. Store.MeidasTouch.com. And then there's MeidasPlus.com. That's where our editor-in-chief, Ron Filipkowski, writes those incredible daily bulletins at MeidasPlus.com. Let's take our first quick break of the show. We've got a lot more to discuss when we come back.
Have you heard about the crime that the FBI calls house stealing? It's a growing real estate scam targeting American homeowners and their equity. And here's how it works. Criminals forge your signature on one document, use a fake notary stamp, pay a small fee, and file with your county. Just like that, your home title has been transferred out of your name. Then they take out loans using your equity or even sell your property. And you won't even know it's happened until you start getting collections or foreclosure notices. So let me ask you, when was the last time you checked your home title? Now, if you're like me, the answer is never. And that's exactly what scammers are counting on. That's why you need to stop what you're doing right now and find out today if you're already a victim. Just use my promo code Meidas at HomeTitleLock.com and you'll get a free title history report to find out if your title is still in your name. Now, when you sign up, you'll also receive 14 days of free $1 million triple lock protection. That's immediate 24/7 monitoring of your property's title, urgent alerts if there are ever any changes, and if fraud should happen, their US-based restoration team will spend up to $1 million to fix the fraud and restore your title at no additional cost. Get peace of mind now at HomeTitleLock.com, promo code Meidas, or click the link in the description. That's HomeTitleLock.com, promo code Meidas. Let's face it, after a night of drinks, I don't bounce back the next day like I used to. Now, I thought I had to make a choice. I can either have a great night or a great next day. Now, that was until I found pre-alcohol. ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic Drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Now, here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. Now, it's a buildup of this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for rough days after drinking. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to make pre-alcohol your first drink of the night, drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow. Now, every time I have pre-alcohol before drinks, I notice a difference the next day. Even after a night out, I can confidently plan on having a great next day without worrying. Look, I won't lie. I was a bit on the fence about pre-alcohol initially, but then while hanging out with some friends in DC, I gave it a shot and, well, believe me, it's the real deal. So I first gave pre-alcohol a try when I was at a wedding. I drank it before my first espresso martini, and you wouldn't believe how on top of my game I felt the very next morning. Spring is here, which means more opportunities to celebrate warmer weather. And before drinks on the patio, that tropical vacation, or your best friend's wedding, don't forget your ZBiotics pre-alcohol. Drink one before drinking and wake up feeling great the next day. Go to zbiotics.com/Meidas to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use Meidas at checkout. ZBiotics is backed with 100% money back guarantee. So if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/Meidas and use the code Meidas at checkout for 15% off. Let's go. Shout out to our sponsors. Links in the description of both the YouTube and the audio. Click the links. Use the codes. Let them know we sent you. Benji, wait. Nice shirt, big bro. I like that green shirt. You look really good on that.
Great shirt.
Thank you. It was a birthday gift. It was a birthday gift from our mom. So figured I'd wear that birthday gift. All right, let's get into it. So Donald Trump's disastrous budget bill, which he calls a big, beautiful bill. It's actually a massive, gigantic disaster. By the way, don't you see the New York Times and others say the big, beautiful bill is making its way through? How do you literally buy that idiotic framework? What this bill is going to do is it's going to add at least $4 trillion to the deficit. I think conservatively $6 trillion. My prediction is more like 15 to 20 trillion when all is said and done, especially when you factor in what Doge has done by essentially dismantling the IRS to allow rich people to avoid paying taxes by doing maneuvers that would otherwise be investigated. So how do I know that this bill is going to add at least $4 trillion to the deficit? Remember how the MAGA Republicans were making it almost impossible for former President Biden to raise the debt ceiling? Oh, that's so fiscally irresponsible. How dare you do it? Oh, really? Well, in this budget bill, they raise the debt ceiling, the MAGA Republicans do, by at least $4 trillion. Okay, that's in it right there. When you take a look at then the trillions of dollars in tax cuts for the billionaires, you're looking at, I think the best estimate is $6 trillion. I mean, it's literal. I mean, you can't even debate with that. You want to have a debate with me, whether it's 15 or $20 trillion that's going to be added to the deficit, fine. But this also cuts Medicaid, $880 billion. That's still there. There were some MAGA Republicans who were holdouts on the budget committee, and they were not voting for this budget bill because they wanted more cuts to Medicaid. They wanted to make sure more people were immediately taken off Medicaid, and that wasn't delayed by a few years. They wanted it to happen next year. That was one of the things that MAGA Mike said, okay, we'll get rid of these people from Medicaid right away if they don't meet the MAGA definition of able-bodied. MAGA will determine if you're able-bodied or now. MAGA will determine what your corporation should have to price. You see all of these press conferences right now when a company like Walmart, by the way, and I'm not trying to compliment Walmart, they've done a lot of crappy stuff, and have destroyed small and medium-sized businesses. But when a company like Walmart says, we're going to have to pass on costs to consumers, and the Trump regime is like, no, you need to eat it. You need to eat it. They did the same stuff with Amazon. They did the same stuff with you need to eat the cost.
Sounds a little communisty. If I,
all of this stuff is Trump and MAGA central planning. We're going to create MAGA savings accounts. We're going to do they literally have something called MAGA savings accounts is one of their gimmicks. So there's not going to be no tax on Social Security, but MAGA savings accounts, everybody. I mean, isn't this stuff, if you're like, what do you mean MAGA savings account? I think I have the clip of Caroline Levitt talking about the MAGA savings accounts. Here, play this clip.
As I said, this is a very pro-family piece of legislation. Not only does it increase the child tax credit, but it also includes MAGA baby savings accounts for children that are born before January 1st, 2024, under 8 years old, U.S. citizens, and have at least one parent with a valid Social Security number. And when this tax provision becomes law, the child, if the parents seek to do this, will be set up with a savings account. Essentially, it's a 401k for a newborn baby.
It's essentially a 401k for a newborn baby called a MAGA savings account. I wonder which corporations are going to try to be benefiting from MAGA savings accounts and building out an entire, industry around there. This is not a family-friendly budget. I mean, this is a budget that's going to kick you off of your health care. I mean, the nonpartisan congressional budget groups that take a look at this have said that 13, 14 million Americans are going to lose their health care. People are going to lose their supplemental nutrition assistance program. They're going to lose their SNAP. It guts HUD, which provides rental assistance and affordable housing it's by 40%. This is the least family friendly thing. And then they go out there and have Caroline Levitt just lie in the most brazen way imaginable. I mean, she's asked about the fact that this is going to add at least $4 trillion to the deficit or more. That's one of the reasons why Moody's downgraded America's credit score, because this is going to blow up the deficit. By the way, 25 to 30% of the deficit that's already existing was caused by Donald Trump the first time. He was the most reckless with debt of any president in history. And you don't have to take my word for it. Go back and look at the GOP presidential debates, which Trump was too afraid to show up in, and you'll see DeSantis and Nikki Haley said the reason why we had inflation under Biden, a direct quote from them, was because of Donald Trump's reckless handling of the deficit and adding trillions and trillions of dollars in debt. It's a direct quote from them, so you don't have to quote me. But here, Caroline Leavitt just looks at the camera, and I want you to watch her whole demeanor. Like, she has like the worst tells as she gears up to lie. She does this thing like she flips her hair and she just kind of gears up and she like revels in the lie. Like, she's like, all right, I'm going to do a good lie. I'm going to watch her get the question. And she enjoys it. You'll see her wind up. It's sick. It's sick. Here, play this clip.
Just a quick follow-up. Is the president okay with this bill adding to the deficit?
This bill does not add to the deficit. In fact, according to the Council of Economic Advisors, this bill will save $1.6 trillion. And the president absolutely understands and hears the concerns of fiscal conservatives and of Americans who want to get our fiscal house in order. That's what the intention of this bill is. There's $1.6 trillion worth of savings in this bill. That's the largest savings for any legislation that has ever passed Capitol Hill in our nation's history. The next bill that even comes close was $800 billion. That's less than half of the savings that we see in the One Big Beautiful Bill. And so the goal of this bill is to produce economic growth, to cut taxes, and to get our fiscal house in order. And this is the right step in the right direction towards doing that.
Okay, it is literally going to add $4 trillion. Do you see how effortlessly she does it? I'm going to find the other clip where she does that, where she does the thing, and I'll make sure I get it to Brett during the break. But effortlessly, just
is it the one where she's asked about Moody's?
Yeah. Do we have that one?
Yeah.
Let's play.
Let's see if this is that.
Edward.
Yes, thanks.
And then I'll go to you.
Thanks,
You're welcome.
I want to get the president's reaction to Moody's downgrading the credit rating of the United States.
Sure. Well, look, the president talked about this over the weekend. The Secretary of Treasury also talked about it. When you look at the world has confidence in the United States of America and our economy once again. The president just last week secured trillions of dollars in.
Okay, lie. That started it. That's where I was like, when I was watching it live, I was like, what? She's like gearing up. You know, like the baseball player before they go to the plate, they like have their practice swings. All right, this is going to be okay. Literally, the world is selling off America right now. They're saying we need to get out of America. Objectively, what's happening is the European bond markets, the European equities markets, China's markets, they're actually doing much better right now as people are no longer viewing the United States as a safe place for money or a safe place that it once was. If Donald Trump can, and just let's look at it objectively. If Donald Trump wakes up in the morning and he starts to make posts like himself holding a sword, blind justice under the law will return to our republic, as he starts posting about military tribunals about Obama from QAnon accounts. He's posting accounts that say, I believe in Q, the great awakening of holding the line, actual death cult accounts, posting first military tribunals and then himself with swords and then saying Taylor Swift ain't hot anymore. Would you want to put your money in that company who's like, just think about it if it was a company and you're an investor. Let's break it down in an easier way. Okay. Let's just say you have $5,000 to invest. And on the one hand, you have a company run by a CEO who's posting things like that. Here, just pull it up one more time. Who's posting death cult, QAnon stuff, weird sword pictures, talking about we should criminally investigate Beyoncé, Bono, and Springsteen. Illegal violations. Or are you going to try to invest with a company where the CEO is like, we need to support free trade and we need to create a stable market environment? And China realizes this. China sees this opportunity. While Donald Trump was out there begging for personal gifts to himself in the form of gold-plated jets, which he claims it's like the Statue of Liberty. This is like a gift to America. That's what they're going with now. It's like the Statue of Liberty. The Statue of Liberty, there was a congressional resolution from 1877 agreeing to accept the gift of the Statue of Liberty. The United States actually paid for some of its construction, and that was for the American people. Giving a gold-plated jet that becomes part of Donald Trump's hypothetical library, which isn't in existence, which means Trump gets to use this and his family uses it for their rich billionaire friends for the rest of their freaking lives on the American taxpayer dime. Okay, that is not like the statue. How offensive to say that Trump.
It's offensive to our intelligence, honestly, the whole thing. Like they always find the dumbest whataboutism to try to go to try to normalize his behavior. And there's nothing normal about this behavior. And the fact that you have Donald Trump in any other media environment, Trump threatening to hold military tribunals to imprison President Obama, former President Obama. I think that might be like a big deal, right? Trump ignoring calls, people begging in these states for help. Please just help us a little bit. Please activate FEMA, do something, and ignoring them completely. And you could go on and on. We're just talking about the tariffs and throwing the global economy into chaos, all that stuff, right? You could talk about that for days, but apparently the media they want to make sure you know that Joe Biden's old. Okay, that's what's top of mind for them. All that stuff could go to the side because, folks, I'm not sure if you've heard it. Joe Biden, old guy. That's what the media wants to focus on right now. It's just ridiculous.
Just think about how heinous it is too that during this really somber moment for our country to recognize that former President Biden got that diagnosis. It took less than 24 hours for Donald Trump to give a press conference and say the most despicable things about former President Biden, right? And to go up there and basically spread conspiracies and to say, we should be looking into what's going on there. And then Donald Trump refers to having a score of 9 on the Gleason scale of prostate cancer as stage 9 cancer. I mean, the whole thing is just put it like, and then Trump then pivoting to brag about passing dementia tests himself, like making it about himself. Oh, I aced it. Trying to be like, I'm so smart. I passed a dementia test, but Biden has cancer. Play this clip. This was from earlier today.
Do you want to respond to President Biden being diagnosed with cancer? Are you going to call your predecessor?
I think it's very sad, actually. I'm surprised that it wasn't, the public wasn't notified a long time ago, because to get to stage 9, that's a long time. I just had my physical. You saw that. You saw the results of that particular test. I think that test is standard to pretty much anybody getting a physical, good physical. We had the doctors at the White House and over at Walter Reed, which is a fantastic hospital. I did a very complete physical, including cognitive tests. I'm proud to announce I aced it. Got them all. I got them all right. You proud of me? Yes. Your husband would be proud of me for getting them all right. It's a little risk. If I didn't get them all right, these people would be after me. It would be not a good situation. But I think, frankly, anybody running for president should act.
And you see the people in the back there, though, too, the cop in the back, and they're all like, I mean, to me, those people are equally as bad as him. And it's such a shameful representation of America that is somehow valued. Con artists, frauds, felons, sexual abusers, like a sick, vile piece of trash. That's a piece of trash human being. Lowest of low characters, like a real sicko, a criminal, a felon. It's a felon, a fraud, a freaking loser, a bankrupter, someone whose entire life has been scamming people and ruining lives. Like the fact that you could just have a cop back there go, you think he gives a shit about you? Really? You think he cares about you and your family? The fact that could even be normalized right there. And let me just show you this clip. When I interviewed former President Biden and I asked him what you want your legacy to be, this is what American corporate news is afraid of, by and large. They hate to have a good, decent, drama-free human being with predictable foreign policy who handles himself with class, because that's not enough drama to get these lazy pieces of shit in the media the clicks that they freaking want, because they are pathetic at their jobs. Play the clip.
When history is all told, how do you want to be remembered? What do you want your legacy to be?
I kept my word that when I said I was going to do something, I did. And that my focus has always been about how to give ordinary people a shot. You probably heard me say it before. My dad used to say, Joey, your job's about a lot more than a paycheck. It's about your dignity. It's about respect. It's about being able to look your kid in the eye and say, I'm going to be okay, and mean it. It's about being able to be yourself and focus on people who need some help. And the vast majority of the American people, all they want is a chance, just a chance, and they'll do fine.
You see hope?
I do. I am hopeful.
Want to take our last quick ad break of the show. A reminder, store.MeidasTouch.com. Get your MeidasTouch gear right now that you're seeing out everywhere. Store.MeidasTouch.com. Get it before it sells out. MeidasPlus.com is our Substack. Make sure you subscribe there. We're on our way to 1 million subscribers on that Substack. Help us get to 1 million there. And then patreon.com/MeidasTouch. When we come back, I want to talk about the elections in Romania and Poland, where the pro-democracy, pro-EU candidates won and beat expectations. Some real upsets over there. So add Canada, Australia, Romania, Poland, and I even think that Pope Leo, one of the reasons they picked him is because of his kind of position on immigration and decency as a kind of a check on this right-wing authoritarianism. We'll be right back after our last quick break.
Are you ready to jumpstart your health in 2025? Well, let me tell you about a game-changing tool that's been helping me understand and improve my body. It's called Lumen. Lumen is the world's first handheld metabolic coach, designed to give you insights into your metabolism like never before. With just a breath, it measures whether your body is burning fats or carbs, and the app provides tailored guidance to optimize your nutrition, workouts, sleep, and even stress management. Here's how it works. Every morning, you breathe into Lumen, and it tells you what's happening with your metabolism. From there, it gives you a personalized nutrition plan for the day so you can fuel your body the right way. You can even use it before and after workouts or meals to get real-time insights into how your body is responding and adjust your habits accordingly. It's super cool. Your metabolism is the engine that powers your body. It's how you turn the food you eat into the energy you need. That's why optimizing your metabolic health can have such wide-reaching benefits. Easier weight management, more energy, better fitness results, improved sleep, and more. And for those navigating hormonal changes, Lumen even adjusts its recommendations to help you maintain a healthy metabolism through life's natural shifts. I've been using Lumen to better understand my body, and the results have been eye-opening. Knowing whether I'm burning fat or carbs has helped me to make smarter choices about what I eat and when I exercise. It's not about the quick fixes. It's about making informed decisions that align with my goals and lifestyle. Take the next step in improving your health. Go to lumen.me/Meidas to get 20% off your Lumen. That's lumen.me/MEIDAS for 20% off your purchase. Thank you, Lumen, for sponsoring this episode and helping us all take control of our health in 2025. So you ever wake up and feel like your body just hit the snooze button on life? Yeah, same. Honestly, aging sneaks up on you in some wild ways. Whether it's a night out or a good workout, I just don't bounce back the way that I used to. One day you're full of energy, the next you're Googling how to stretch without pulling a muscle. I believe one of the best aging breakthroughs of the last decade is Qualia Senolytic, and here's why. It's designed to help your body naturally eliminate something called senescent cells, also known as zombie cells. These are the ones that just hang around after they've stopped doing their job, draining your energy and making you feel, well, old. Think joint discomfort, sluggish recovery, low energy, the whole deal. Qualia Senolytic is a groundbreaking supplement made with 9 plant-based nutrients, and you only take it 2 days a month. That's it. Since I started taking it, I felt more energized, quicker to recover from workouts, and honestly, just more like me again. Plus, Qualia's breakthrough formulation is vegan, non-GMO, and tested by leading scientists. Experience the science of feeling younger. Go to qualialife.com/Meidas for up to 50% off your purchase and use code Meidas for an additional 15%. That's QUALIA life.com/Meidas, MEIDAS, for that extra 15% off. Your older self will thank you. And thanks to Qualia for sponsoring this episode. You know those everyday moments that somehow become your whole day? The coffee run, the sudden downpour on your way to grab groceries. Yeah, I've lived all of that. I know you have too, but now I've got the perfect daily companion, the Vessi weekend sneaker. Not only do my Vessi sneakers look great, but they're also lightweight, have waterproof tech, and provide all day comfort. So I don't have to worry about the weather forecast. These sneakers are also durable, so I know they'll support me no matter what the day brings. My Vessis look so great that I wear them everywhere, to important meetings, out to dinner, and on walks and hikes. And these things are comfortable. They've got soft soles and a breathable design, which is helpful when I'm on my feet. Vessi allows you to embrace every journey, rain or shine, without worry. Make every day a little easier. Visit Vessi.com/Meidas now for 15% off your first pair at checkout and start exploring with confidence. Your new everyday favorite, Vessi, is waterproof, comfy, and ready for real life. Grab your pair at Vessi.com/Meidas to stay comfortable and get an instant 15% off your first purchase at checkout.
Let's go. Links in the description of both the YouTube and the audio. Use the links, use the codes, let them know we sent you. Benji, real quick before we move on here, I just wanted to reflect on that clip that you played right before break. When you see President Biden speak about, just his legacy and what that means to him and how he sees in the direction of this country going and that he has hope. I mean, it really hits me at my core. He genuinely believes it, and it motivates me, and I think it motivates us here at this network to make sure that we make that a true reality here. Beyond the politics of it all, like, not that he's a Democrat or whatever, he's just a good person. He's a good human being, and for whatever reason, like legacy media, as you astutely pointed out, hates that. They hate that steady hand on the wheel, and for the life of me, it breaks my heart that that's the relationship that the media thinks that they need to be so antagonistic towards a true leader, a truly great human being, like someone who actually cares about this country, but even beyond that, like someone who just cares about other people. You'd go to church every Sunday. When my son was born, he wrote me a letter congratulating me on the birth of my son. I don't know if I've even really spoken about this publicly, like went out of his way to write me a letter that he signed personally. And it's just, is someone that really cares. He didn't have to do that.
I got to say this, Jordy.
Hold on. Other than the fact that he's just a good human being. And to see the tappers of the world go so hard against someone who's just such a genuine person and write these smut books, these smear books with secondhand anonymous sources. Naomi Biden, she came out. Joe Biden's granddaughter came out, said she read the books. And she said there's just anonymous sources just sprinkled throughout these books. Well, hey, I'm a primary source. I interviewed him here in Pittsburgh. You know why he was here in Pittsburgh? Because he was at the steel union, because he wanted to keep the jobs in the United States and met with the steel workers here. Because he cared to keep the jobs here in America. Because he cared about the workers here in Pittsburgh and what they were doing. Why? Because he's a good human. Because he actually cares about this country. Ben, you interviewed him. I was at the White House when you interviewed him. It's a competent human being right there. It's someone who truly understands what's needed in this moment. And what is the media? How do they repay him for being just a genuine, authentic version of himself? And honestly, just doing his best to lead this country and doing a damn good job of it. They kill him. They stab him in the back. They say, F you, Joe Biden. We don't want that. But no, I'm not going to let that weirdo narrative that this legacy media is trying to promote time and time again be the legacy that this man leaves behind. Because what he's leaving behind is truly great. And it's truly, at its core, patriotic. And I just wanted to get that off my chest because I was reflecting on all these things as I continue to see this. Sorry, Brett, go ahead.
No, well, I was going to say, like, anytime I see like this, you see that force of the media, right? You see when the media machine kicks in, right? You saw it after the debate, which we, of course, here, we're were very honest about, very critical of, but you saw the outsized media response after the fact and how they didn't stop punching, right? They just did not stop. And now you see they have this book release, and so they're cranking it up, right? They're going nonstop about Biden, right? And I sometimes I just feel like I'm being constantly gaslighted by this machine out there, because I think too, like you said, Jordy, your direct interactions that you had with the person, and you know that there's a phrase that's something like, you may not remember every word somebody says, but you remember how they make you feel, right? And every time we've been with, President Biden, he has been incredibly present with us and gracious with his time, and made us feel, very welcome. When we did that interview with President Biden, he took much longer than we were actually scheduled for the interview. He then, after the fact, told the Secret Service to push his meetings and stuff. He showed us around the Oval Office. He told us stories. It was very interesting, very unique, very special kind of moment, and I even think back, Jordy, when you interviewed him in Pittsburgh and did a little social media with him in Pittsburgh, I recall, what was one of the first things he said with you after you finished recording? He said, "How your brothers doing? Could you got their number? Could I give them a call?" And then you called me and Ben with the President of the United States on the phone. Ben was not near his phone.
I was teaching.
Ben missed the call, but I picked up. And he was as gracious and as nice as could be. "Oh, Brett, so good to hear from you. How's it going? How's your family? How's your wife?" And so when I see the stories that are being presented and the way as if there was some mass cover up, right? There's some massive cover up that was going on. If they were trying to cover anything up, they give us a little too much access, because we would have freaking known, we've known fast. All right. We had one-on-one conversation. We would have known very quickly. If they were trying to cover it up, they did a very bad job. What were you going to say, Ben?
Just judge by the actions that we all objectively know took place. I mean, want to talk about deals? How about the fact that under President Biden, Finland and Sweden became members of NATO, right? It was the first time in a long while for NATO to expand the way it did. Think about a deal like that with countries so close to Russia and strengthening the NATO alliance. I mean, 16.2 million jobs created, 40,000 infrastructure projects taking place, lowering prescription drug prices, record low unemployment, drill baby drill, while Donald Trump's actually destroying the gas and oil industry. Former President Biden was focused on climate change because it's a real thing. But also America was energy independent for the first time. And America was the biggest energy supplier of the world.
Leading by every metric. Metric.
First place in every single metric. And the one of the big problems, though, is, as I've said, America has so propagandized this situation that we're not looking clear-eyed. We are here at the MeidasTouch Network and our audiences, but a lot of people don't see the connections about what's going on across the world. And that's why our international coverage at the MeidasTouch Network, I think, is unique, and I think it's unprecedented. Brett, to your point, when you take a look at what's happening in India, the people there are pissed at Donald Trump. Trump's family did a crypto deal with Pakistan recently, 6 days after the terrorist attack in Kashmir. You're not going to hear about that, in our corporate news right here. But India's pissed at that. You're doing personal crypto deals with Pakistan 6 days after a terrorist attack in Kashmir. What the hell are you doing? You're claiming that there are trade deals with us that aren't there. You're taking credit for the ceasefire when you didn't have a role in that. I mean, you're tricking American people because our state regime media in America pushes that out. But you're not tricking the rest of the world, where the impact of these things, actually matters. All that countries are trained on is Trump's a weak negotiator. You hold out because you get a better deal if you don't deal with his nonsense. And if you are a country that's able to bribe him and pay him off and buy Trump towers, you'll get things in return, right? The leader of Syria says he wants to have a Trump tower in Damascus. Sanctions get removed. Now you have Vietnam inviting the Trump family to build a Trump Tower in Ho Chi Minh City. I mean, this stuff's happening, right in front of our faces. That's why China hosted this conference with the Latin American nations and Caribbean nations in Beijing this past week, while Donald Trump's been, out there with the Qataris and the Saudis. By the way, the Saudis, what is it? More than half of the hijackers from 9/11 came from Saudi Arabia. Qatar funds Hamas. I mean, just what are we even talking about here? So while Trump's doing that, and he's partying in royal palaces, Beijing invited the Latin American countries and Caribbean countries and saying, look, let's strengthen the BRICS bloc. We're a stable force. Trump isn't. We don't believe in bullying and this kind of American style hegemony. Now, it's could be China, very well could be, probably is, China playing the game and spreading their own lies and propaganda, but they're playing the game. And Donald Trump's posting weird memes of himself with swords. Like what the heck? Like, Trump's not even doing anything at a sophisticated level. It's just a bunch of dumb shit. And that our corporate media, just ignores the behavior and then emphasizes whatever the headline is. Trump says we're closer to a ceasefire. He said he was going to have peace in 24 hours. You let him off the hook for that. How Trump said there was going to be peace in Gaza in 24 hours, and things are way worse right now. He lies about every single thing this guy says.
We're still waiting on the healthcare plan, by the way, and his lies are the same. They're always the same, and so I don't understand how anybody's falling for them. It's always, we got something. It's actually really good. It's really great. It's the best. It's going to be there, and we just need 2 weeks. 2 weeks to unveil it. Oh, it's just going to be a couple weeks. Oh, we just need a little more time. It's going to happen. We're getting them together. It's going to happen. Just give it a few weeks. It's the same. He just constantly kicks the can down the road, and then his lie gets parroted. Oh, Trump says he has a huge plan that's going to change everything. That's going to solve this problem, solve that problem. By the way, I would love for this problem to be solved, right? I would love for this war to be over. I will celebrate the day that happens, but I'm not going to preemptively buy Donald Trump's bullshit when he has a track record for lying, not about one thing here or there, but literally everything.
What did he say last week? It was healthcare costs are now going to be down 90% because he said he signed an executive order, total BS executive order, where he says we're going to force pharmaceutical companies to have a most favored nations clause where whatever they're charging, the lowest price to whatever country is what they charge in America. I so decree via executive order. Has anything happened? Are your healthcare costs 90% lower right now? No, if you want to address healthcare costs, have universal healthcare, which Republicans oppose all of the time. Have Medicare for all. If you want to reduce healthcare, have the government, the way it now, because of what Biden did, negotiate lower prescription drug prices across all pharmaceutical companies for Medicare. Have that take place for the private healthcare market as well, or make the private healthcare totally public so all Americans get free healthcare. Instead, Trump and the MAGA Republicans in their bill are taking away people's Medicaid. Notice the fraud and the sleight of hands. He signs an executive order that's bullshit and not real, lowering prescription drug prices while actually taking away healthcare from 13 to 14 million Americans, at least with the piece of legislation. That's actually what's happening. So just report. It's easy to see it. Just report on what's happening. Brett, you're like, I don't want to get conspiratorial that the corporate media is just shilling for him, but it's not like what I just said there. It wasn't like I just discovered, something. Oh my God, look, I just came up with some incredible, new theory of relativity. I literally just said the truth. Healthcare costs are not down. They're taking away Medicaid. So why is that so hard to report on? Why aren't you prioritizing that in your underlying reporting? I want to just pivot quickly to some of these international elections because I think it's important. We reported on the Canadian elections, right, where their MAGA maple, led by the Conservative Party, Pierre Poilievre, was leading in all of the polls. Then they got demolished by the Liberal Party. Prime Minister Mark Carney was able to form a minority government right there, and a massive upset, and Pierre Poilievre lost his seat there. You go to Australia, where their Liberal Party, which is actually their Conservative Party, their Labour Party in Australia is their Liberal Party, the the right-wing party, which was led by a guy named Peter Dutton, who they called Timu MAGA or Timu Trump. He lost his seat and they got demolished. So the center-left party in Canada won, the center-left party in Australia won, and the polls just like completely switched and reversed. We saw the same thing happen in Romania, where their far right-wing party, led by this guy named George Simeon, he modeled himself. He says he's the Romanian MAGA guy. He actually won the first round in the elections earlier in the month, but Romania rallied around the centrist, center-left, pro-EU, pro-democracy candidate. Young people basically said, we can't have our country become like Hungary or become like Argentina, or frankly, become like America. Right now, we're just going to be a Putin proxy. We can't let that happen. And a big victory there from this guy named Nikashir Dan, who is their pro-center, their center-left campaign, pro-EU candidate right there. And that was a big victory there. And then in Poland, you had in Poland, the mayor of Warsaw, liberal centrist guy, ended up beating the far right wing Karol Nawrocki in the first round. There's going to be a second round June 1st. The president of Poland right now is a right wing guy. The prime minister is more of a center liberal guy. They have it's somewhat of a confusing system in their not that confusing, but in their parliamentary system, the prime minister is the head of government, and they have a president who's the head of state. The prime minister has more power, but the president still has veto rights. And so in Poland, you have the center-left candidate win the first round there. So we're seeing this Trump effect across the world. And so, either you have countries bribing, Trump at this point, or just totally repelling and checking him and forming alliances that basically isolate the United States, as there's this massive flight away from American markets, as the American brand has been irreparably harmed by Trump and MAGA. So I think that gives us a full scope of all of the events taking place right now. I'm going to go and spend the rest of the birthday with my family. It was incredible to spend the birthday with my brothers and all of you, the Meidas Mighty. So if you can check out MeidasPlus.com, we really want to get to 1 million subscribers on that Substack. So check that out. Patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Next week, we'll go live there and do our special meeting. You can ask us questions there. And then store.MeidasTouch.com. Check that out. Brett, did I leave anything out there?
Yeah, I'll just say, hey, we got a lot of people watching right now, and thank you for watching. The biggest way you could help is just sharing the show, right? Let people know this has been 100% people-powered, fueled by word of mouth. So let folks know about the MeidasTouch podcast. Share this episode with a friend or a family member. And also, it's super important, and go and check out the MeidasTouch podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. That's where we put the audio episodes also. Check that out. If you've already done that, leave a 5-star review. If you go on Apple, you go into the show, you scroll down, you'll see it says write a review. You can hit the 5 stars. You can write some nice words. It just really helps get the show out. And the most important thing for us right now is to get these messages out to as many people as possible. People need to hear the truth. People need to see and hear what is actually going on and stay focused on the biggest issues of our time. I know we are committed to doing that. And so thank you all for spreading the word. And on that note, I'll toss it over to Jordy. Jordy, bring it home.
Shout out to the Meidas Mighty. Can't get enough Meidas? Check out the Meidas Plus Substack for ad-free articles, reports, podcasts, daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, and more. Sign up for free now at MeidasPlus.com.